Look at that. She's ruined it again. How can anyone burn a simple pot of stew?
She only wanted one thing: to go viral with a single perfect plate of jollof rice. Just one post, one moment of glory to put her name on the map. But what happened that day didn't bring her fame. It made the entire village laugh at her and destroyed her reputation overnight. She was trembling, not from cold, not from hunger, from something far worse: shame. Amara stood in the middle of the open yard, surrounded by what felt like the entire village. Faces everywhere, some confused, some covering their mouths, some not even trying to hide it, just laughing openly, loudly. The way people laugh when something is so bad, it stops being sad. The smell hit everyone before the taste ever could. Burnt oil, scorched tomatoes, something sharp and wrong drifting through the afternoon air like a warning nobody had listened to. On the table in front of her sat the pot. Her pot. The lid still slightly crooked from when she'd yanked it up in panic. Inside was a disaster. A voice cut through the noise, loud, casual, almost cheerful in its cruelty. "You said you wanted to be famous. Is this your fame?" The laughter swelled. Someone clapped. Amara felt her throat tighten. Her eyes burned. She pressed her lips together hard, staring at the ground, refusing, absolutely refusing to let a single tear fall in front of these people. She failed at that too. This all started 3 days ago. Amara was 19 years old and she was invisible. Not literally. People saw her, they just didn't notice her. She was the girl who fetched water early in the morning, who patched her one good dress for the 3rd time, who lived in a house where the walls had more cracks than the family had answers. Poverty had a sound in her home. It was the silence after her mother counted coins on the kitchen table. It was the way conversation stopped when the topic of school fees came up. At night, when the house was quiet, Amara would lie on her narrow mattress and scroll. Her phone was old, screen cracked along one corner, battery that died if she looked at it wrong. But it connected her to a world that felt dizzyingly far away. Bright kitchens, beautiful food, people with thousands, sometimes millions of strangers hanging on their every word. She wanted that. Not just the money, the recognition, the feeling of mattering to people who had never even met her. Then she found the video. Celebrity Jollof Rice, the recipe that will change your life, by someone called Spice Queen. 2,400,000 views. Comments flooded underneath it. "I made this and cried. This is the best thing I've ever eaten. She deserves every subscriber." Amara watched it once, then again, then 3 more times, the glow of the phone lighting up her face in the dark room while her mother slept on the other side of the thin curtain. The recipe looked achievable. The steps seemed clear, and Spice Queen made it look so effortless, laughing into the camera, tossing in spices like she was born knowing exactly how much was enough. "I can do this," Amara thought. "I can do exactly this." By morning, she had a plan. She borrowed money from their neighbor, Mrs. Pauline, told her it was for something important, which wasn't entirely a lie. Then she went to the market and came back with ingredients she had never cooked with before. Specialty spices in small glass jars, a specific brand of rice, a type of stock powder Spice Queen had held up to the camera with a smile. Mama Grace saw the bags on the table and went very still. "Where did you get money for all this?" "I borrowed it. I'll pay it back." Amara didn't meet her eyes. Her mother was quiet for a long moment, then softly, the kind of soft that lands harder than shouting, she said, "Quick fame always has a price, Amara." Amara said nothing. She packed the ingredients away and told herself her mother just didn't understand. She practiced at night, twice, 3 times, always when the house was asleep. The results were never quite right. 2 smoky ones, 2 watery the next. But she told herself it just needed one more try and she would get it right. Zoe, her best friend from childhood, started noticing the change. She would drop by at odd hours, lingering in the doorway with her usual bright smile. But one evening, as Amara excitedly showed her a new spice jar, Zoe's eyes lingered on the expensive ingredients a second too long. Her smile stayed fixed, but it didn't reach her eyes. When Amara turned back to the pot, Zoe's fingers tightened around the edge of the cable, a small telling grip that betrayed the jealousy simmering underneath her supportive words. Amara didn't see it. She was too wrapped up in her dream. On Thursday evening, standing outside her house where neighbors could hear, Amara made her announcement loud and clear. I'm cooking the celebrity jollof rice this Saturday for the whole village right here in the yard. Come and taste it. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. Zoe stared at her, eyes wide with something unreadable. Mama Grace stood motionless in the kitchen doorway, her expression unreadable. Amara's heart hammered hard against her ribs. A rush of electric hope surged through her. By Sunday, she thought, everyone will know my name. Saturday came fast, too fast. By 9 in the morning, people were already gathering in the open yard. Folding chairs dragged out, children weaving between adult legs, older women settling in like they had front row seats to something interesting.
A few men stood at the back with arms crossed, already skeptical. Someone had even brought a small stool for old Mr. Bassi, who never left his porch for anything less than a funeral or a fight. Amara stood behind the makeshift cooking table, heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. This was supposed to be her moment, her door to being seen, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling as she arranged the ingredients in neat rows, lined in order, pot clean, fire just starting to catch, the same way she had seen Spice Queen do it on the video. She propped her phone against a tin cup, camera facing her, red recording light blinking like an accusing eye. She took a deep breath and forced a bright smile. She was going to do this exactly like Spice Queen, confident, easy, like it was nothing. Okay, she said to the camera, her voice a little too loud, a little too eager. Today, I'm making this celebrity jollof rice for all of you. A few people clapped. A child in the front laughed at nothing in particular. She started with the tomatoes. They were supposed to blend into a thick, rich paste, but instead, the market ones she bought released too much water, turning the mixture thin and pale. She added more, stirring frantically, but the color stayed weak. The open flame underneath the pot roared hotter than she expected, licking at the sides. The oil hit the hot surface with an angry sizzle. She flinched, stepping back as smoke rose faster than in any of her nighttime practices. The onions went in next, but they caught at the bottom almost immediately, turning dark and bitter at the edges before they could soften properly. It's fine, she told herself, sweat beading on her forehead. Just keep going. Stay calm like Spice Queen. But her voice kept tightening as she narrated for the camera, even though she was trying her best to sound relaxed. Behind her, she could hear murmurings, not unkind yet, just people watching and waiting. The spices went in next. She measured by memory the way Spice Queen had, a confident pour, no hesitation. But Spice Queen had never said exactly how much. The video had cut at that part, jumping from one smiling moment to the next, edited tight for drama and views. There were no real measurements, no real guidance, no warnings about how real fire behaved differently from a studio stove, just performance dressed up as instruction. The recipe had been edited for views, not for real kitchens like hers. Amara was only beginning to realize that now. The rice went in far too early. She realized it the moment it hit the pot. The sauce hadn't reduced enough. It turned mushy and uneven almost instantly. Murmurs grew louder behind her. A few people shifted in their seats. Then Zoe appeared at her side, smiling wide. "Let me help," Zoe said cheerfully, leaning in close. "You are doing so well." Amara tried to wave her off. "I've got it." Before she could finish, Zoe's hand brushed the small jar of smoked spice on the right. It happened in a flash, a nudge that looked accidental, a quick fumble. Too much of the dark, pungent powder tipped straight into the pot. Amara's stomach dropped. She grabbed for the jar, but it was already too late. Sorry, Zoe stepped back, hand flying to her mouth, eyes wide with perfect apology. I didn't mean to. Amara stared at her best friend. The smile was still there, but something colder flickered underneath. Was it really an accident? The question burned hotter than the fire. Zoe had been watching her moves for days, that fixed smile never quite reaching her eyes. Now, in this moment, Amara wasn't sure anymore. But there was no time to think about it. The pot had already decided. The smell hit first, sharp, acrid, with an undercurrent of something burnt and bitter that made several people wrinkle their noses and lean away. Coughs broke out. A woman waved her hand in front of her face. Amara gripped the lid with both her shaking hands and lifted it. Silence fell for 3 long seconds. Then the laughter erupted, loud, rolling, uncontrollable. People doubled over, children pointed, old women exchanged amused glances. Someone near the back held up their phone, clearly recording. The laughter grew louder and fed on itself, and above it all, the same mocking voice rang out. You said you wanted to be famous. Is this your fame? That night, Amara sat alone on her narrow mattress, knees pulled tight to her chest, phone glowing in her lap. The video had 47 views at 9 o'clock. By 10, it passed 200. By midnight, the comments flooded in faster than she could read them. Laughing emojis, cruel jokes, strangers tagging friends to come and watch the girl who burned her big moment. She had wanted the world to know her name. Now, it did, but not the way she had dreamed. Amara turned the phone face down and stared at the dark ceiling. The house was quiet except for the distant bark of a dog. No tears came anymore. No anger either. Just a deep, hollow emptiness, as if she had run full speed towards a door that turned out to be a wall. For the first time in her life, Amara had absolutely no idea who she was anymore.
She stayed inside for 2 days. The curtains stayed drawn. The door stayed shut. Her old phone lay face down on the mattress, but she could still feel it buzzing every now and then. Soft, persistent vibrations that felt like fingers poking at a fresh bruise. She barely ate. When Mama Grace left a plate of food outside the door, Amara waited until the footsteps faded before cracking the door open just enough to pull it inside. Most of it went cold, untouched. The laughter from the yard still echoed in her head, but the worst part wasn't even the comments. The laughing emojis, the jokes that called her burnt rice girl, strangers tagging friends to come watch her fail. The worst part was the number climbing higher with every refresh. 500, 2,000, 8,000. Each new view felt like another stranger pointing and laughing at the girl who thought she could become somebody overnight. On the second afternoon, Zoe came. Amara heard her voice outside the door, soft and hesitant. Amara, please, I just want to talk. It was an accident, I swear. Amara sat very still on her mattress, knees pulled to her chest, and said nothing. The silence stretched until it felt heavy enough to crush them both. Finally, she heard Zoe's hot steps slowly walking away. The silence that followed was heavier than anything Zoe could have said. In the evening of the second day, something changed. Not loudly, not dramatically. It started with a smell. Amara was lying on her side, staring blankly at the cracked wall, when it drifted in. Onions softening gently in warm oil. The sweet, rich scent of tomatoes breaking down, layered with something warm and earthy. Her mother wasn't knocking or calling her name. Mama Grace had simply set up her small pot on the outside burner near the doorway and started cooking slow and steady, like it was any ordinary evening. Amara breathed it in. Something in her chest tightened, then loosened. A complicated ache that sat right between pain and relief. After a long while, she stood up, opened the door, and sat on the step with her arms wrapped around her knees. She didn't speak. Mama Grace glanced at her once, quietly, and kept stirring the pot. They sat together in the warm evening air for what felt like forever, before Mama Grace finally spoke.
her voice low and steady. "You wanted fame," she said, eyes still on the pot. "You forgot about value." The words sank deep, past all Amara's excuses. "Fame is just noise," her mother continued. "Value is what people feel when they taste something real, when they see someone who actually knows what they're doing." She lifted the wooden spoon and held it out to Amara, not forcing it, just offering. Amara looked at the spoon for a long moment. Then she reached out and took it. The weeks that followed moved slowly, nothing like the fast, glittering life she had imagined. No cameras pointed at her, no crowd watching. Just early mornings with the fire crackling low, her mother's patient hands guiding hers, teaching her to listen to the pot, to smell when the base was ready, to trust her own instincts instead of copying someone else's perfect smile on a screen. She made mistakes, plenty of them. Burnt edges, unbalanced spices, sauces that separated. But these mistakes happened in the quiet kitchen, with no one laughing, and somehow that made them easier to fix. Each time she tasted something wrong, she adjusted, learning a little more. Slowly, she began to experiment. A pinch of one spice that felt right to her. A technique her mother showed her mixed with an idea that came from her own heart. Bit by bit, something new took shape. A flavor that was warm, balanced, and entirely hers. Not Spice Queen's recipe, not even purely her mother's. It was hers. One evening, almost without planning it, she propped her phone against the wall and filmed herself cooking. No script, no performance, just the pot on fire, the steam rising, and her real voice telling the simple truth. How she had failed in front of everyone, and how she was learning to try again honestly. She posted it without any fancy editing and went to bed. The next morning, the comments felt different. "This is so real. Thank you for sharing the truth. I feel that something big last month too. This gave me hope. I'll travel to taste this food just knowing the heart that went into it." Amara read them slowly. Tears pricked her eyes, but this time they were warm, not bitter. Later that afternoon, a text came from Zoe, just 4 words. "That video was beautiful." Amara stared at the words for a long moment, then she replied, "Come over tomorrow, I'll cook for you." It wasn't full forgiveness yet, but it was a small door opening, and sometimes that was enough to begin healing. Amara never forgot the sound of that crowd laughing. It still lived in the back of her chest, small and permanent, but she stopped being afraid of it. She had learned something no viral video or desperate shortcut could teach, that real skill grows in the quiet moments, in the mess, in the patient trying again when no one is watching and nothing is guaranteed. She stopped performing for the camera. She started creating from the heart. This time, she didn't chase fame, and somehow, fame found her.